Going to be starting in a second, just getting some music on. Monday, live stream. All right. All right, you bastards. We're going to kick some Maybe that's a little too loud. Probably can't hear my deep commentary with this crazy music on. Let's see if I can get a little closer to the heart. Hold on. I know you guys will be joining when you can. I'm just trying to get the tripod thingy a little more. Nice. That is the true spirit of rock and roll, my friends. True spirit of rock and roll. Let's see what we're going to do with that. I'll tell you, we're getting off to an exciting start. What else is going to happen in this stream? Who knows? Maybe we need more volume. That might do it. Are we even streaming still, I wonder? Let's get, I'm going to have to rock this and start over. Sorry. There we go. All right. I see somebody's here. Nullis, my brother. What's up, big guy? Yeah, the tripod decided to flip out on me, so I'm trying to get squared up again. Hey there, Yankee Apple. Nice to have you with us. Inserting Molly Gift. You just won't let up on that, will ya? This is a well-known joke in the White Art Collective that I hate the dancing Molly New GIF. We're going to turn the music down a little bit. We'll be right back. Hang on. And we're back. Hey, thanks to you guys for coming. I'll give you a little update on some new characters for this comic book company I'm working for. Waifu. This character is called the Waifu. So, as I mentioned in other shows, all the characters are based on certain memes or ideas in the political sphere. This is kind of a Hyperborean, Apollonian superhero. If anybody's familiar with the Warlock from Marvel Comics, that's kind of the feeling I get from this one. The Mason. So if you recognize that symbol there, you kind of get a Freemason flavor here. This is sort of a Stan Lee meets Steven Spielberg meets Professor X type of a character, the mentalist, the fasces. So if you know the symbol of the fasces with the sticks tied together with the axe on it, that one is bound to be Norm Apollo's favorite superhero. This is a character I've been working with, Uber Chad. He's got a pretty cool superpower, is kind of like a nanotechnology suit that takes different forms. Q, played off of QAnon. I modeled it after Mysterio from Marvel Comics, but altered him enough to make it, our own. And then I think I showed some of these in the last episode. Just kind of giving you a little update. Miley Psyop. Who does that remind you of? Miley Psyop. Anyway, you get kind of a feel for what's shaping up here. A Galaxy Brain, Black Block. Lots to do here. So Let's kind of move the camera a bit. Hopefully it won't crash on me again. And there you go. So this guy here is sort of a new one. It's called the Demoncrat. What could that be about? I wonder. I wonder if anybody knows what these symbols mean either. Something that 4chan would love to look up. This here is the God Emperor, so you can kind of figure out what it's all about. So basically, try to imagine a kind of a spoof comic book action adventure that's using all of the political memes that we're familiar with here. So let's take a quick look at the chat. This is on my phone. Hey, Norm is here. Very classic Green Lantern from the Mason. Yeah, you nailed it. That I was going full like 1970s style with that one. I just thought it was kind of fun. Bit of a Green Lantern flavor to it here. Who else are we with? These are cool. Thanks, Norwegian exchange student. Curious question. Insert Dancing Molly. Okay, all right, well, I'm going to get to work a bit, guys. Hey, Alan Scott is the best Lantern. Jay Garrick is the best Flash. Hands down, no argument there. Do not argue with Norm Apollo on anything. Okay, so here, speaking of speedsters and the Flash, this is a kind of a father-son Flash team, if you will, and then sort of the speedsters. This one's Godspeed, and this one is Zoomer. So you've probably heard the term Zoomer before in our sphere. I'm going to just try to get the damn phone clicked in. It seems to be stable. All right, so this is me working in my studio. Got like a massive amount of different kinds of markers that I spend money on to do very specialized work. So I'm going to have to kind of run back and forth between the artwork here and these tools. So you can see if I got the right size or no, that was the same one. Well, I will be using this kind of a fat marker just to fill in the black. Like this guy's whole body is almost entirely black. So in a case like this though, you have to leave a tiny white border around certain areas so that, you know, black on black isn't gonna read. It'll just disappear. So and there's just something, I hate to say this, but sensuous about inking. The kind of the way that the brush works. It's really nice. For me, inking is kind of like the dessert of drawing in a sense. You work hard to get the anatomy and the design and all these various aspects, and then when you go in and ink it, it completes it. So there's just a certain satisfaction to finishing a piece like this and watching it come alive. You know, sort of going from a rough pencil sketch to something like this. You know, it's, of course, this took a lot of time and detail, but whatever. All right. Quick question, is the music too loud? Anybody want to answer me? We got, yes, it was a great video, Norm, oh, okay. Yeah, now, we got to check out the White Art Collective on Sunday. There will be Conversations with the Wind. There's a really, really special program coming up. Always stay tuned, always subscribe. All the White Art Collective content, it's just growing and growing exponentially. I think what people love about it is that it's fresh and it's a break from the news cycle, the sort of the toxicity of the news, and it's a fun community. You know, we should be. It's like if we were all living nearby each other IRL, we'd be hanging out. You know, we'd be hanging out, going to the pub or going to shows or doing whatever, you know, being friends. And so the White Art Collective is kind of a nice community for people like-minded people who are interested in white well-being, saving Western civilization, to come along and listen to new ideas, be inspired, be remoralized, right? You know, the amount of anti-white media out there today, you need a break. So, DLive, I guess it's dlive.tv. You can look it up. They have tons of channels on there. Eventually, I do have a DLive channel, but I don't do anything with it. So I'm gonna have to do something with it eventually. I think I'll just take that out. So that's the scoop. And Nullis, if you want to talk more about your show in the chat, give people a link maybe, or a little, what do you call it, teasers and that the like. Frankly, Nullis has a backlog of fantastic shows, so, you know, you can find that at abnormocracy.com. I believe White Art Collective has a kind of an archive and a news feed where you can find different shows from the past. You know, it never sounds authentic when you're complimenting your friend's show because he's your friend, you know. But I mean, you know, hand on heart, if I didn't know Nullis at all, I'd be a huge fan of the show. It's very unique. You know, there's just lots of good content on the internet and our sphere, but there's nothing like his show, and you can tell that he puts a tremendous amount of time into it. It's what we call the poetry cast. So obviously, like, poetry is the main feature. You will hear music. There's a lot of very, very good discussion. And it's, you know, it's of course a pretty big brain discussion, a lot of intellectuals on there, but a lot of laughter too. You know, a lot of, I don't know, I guess what friends would do, you know, is enjoy each other's company and, you know, share ideas. I think something that we always sort of try to shoot for is to find the gold, is to, like, bring out some sort of inspiration, and we bring it out of each other. You know, there's times when somebody will come up with an idea and bang, that stimulates some kind of idea in you, and it may change your view of your own ideas. I think it's important that we all look at ourselves not as complete, but as process, and that we're kind of growing and learning. There's all kinds of little traps and biases that you can get into while you're developing your philosophy, your political philosophy, all these things. It tends to be rooted in identity, but at the same time, I think that, you know, there's something to say for universal truths. So over the weekend, I had the pleasure of having a YouTube e-celeb guy by the name of Kenneth Brown. He came to my place where I live, and I recorded a conversation. So, hold on. Kenneth is young but brilliant. He is a gifted, brilliant guy. And when you listen to his videos, whatever your political opinions are, you cannot argue the dude is super bright, like gifted. You know what I'm saying? I'm really curious to see what he'll be doing in 10 years or 20 years. You know, I was 20 once, and I remember it well. You know, and it was wonderful. But it's sort of a sophomore stage of your life where you think you know everything, And that's okay. That's just part of it. It's an okay thing. It's not a critique. But there's no substitute for life experience. It doesn't matter how many books you read or what have you. But if you're trying to get the most out of your life, traveling, meeting different people, challenging yourself, testing out new ideas, you're gonna grow, grow, grow. And in his case, being such a gifted intellectual, I have really high expectations of him in the future. I'm quite excited, to see where he goes. So, it's I, the video was just shot like in my studio, so I'm gonna admit the audio is not the greatest, but you really can just simply turn up your audio. There's this little button that turns things up, right? So, go ahead and do that. Anyway, a lot of times, like with comic book illustration, you've got these very, very fine areas like the eyes and the nose and the what have you, so you have to be really cautious when you're working on that. Let me check the chat for a second. Any excuse to bring up Conan and Tarzan is a good one. Hell yeah. By Crumb. Brilliant and amazing. Sorry, I lost the chat here. Brilliant and amazing, well spoken. I was bummed when the feed cut out. Which feed? The feed. Oh, you watched the whole thing, dude. Tell us what you thought of it. I would love to hear your commentary. It gets more and more controversial, I think, as the video goes, in terms of, like he starts to talk about his mom is Jewish and he's half Jewish, and how that plays into his views on, white identity and politics. His approach to his sort of worldview of what should be done, what we're doing, where we're going wrong. What I'm looking for and what I'm getting from him is a fresh perspective. And you gotta sometimes have people come from the outside of your sphere to say, hey, you guys, you're not, maybe you don't see this particular thing because you're too close to whatever it is that you're thinking, your philosophy, what have you. And in his case, his intentions are good. And so, um, with that being the case, there's a level of trust there. And I know that regarding certain topics and certain individuals, trust is a very big problem for us in the white positive sphere. But once again, check out the video. I'm sure that you'll be convinced that, like, okay, there's something to learn here. And so I'm looking forward to a lot more discourse. Interestingly, I was just watching one of Kenneth Brown's videos. Oh gosh, I think it's called Beyond the Black Pill. Beyond the Black Pill. That's an interesting concept just in itself. And he essentially talks about reincarnation and karma. And he's not into Eastern philosophy to my knowledge, but being someone who's, gifted at logic and, reason and these kind of things, he's able just to see the plain truth of these natural laws. So I feel like I want to have some kind of a discussion with him on American Zarathustra about such things. Speaking of Eastern philosophy and Abrahamic religions, if you have not seen my interview with Claire Kaw from the UK, I super strongly urge you to check it out. It's a much, much more intimate, intimate interview with me. I get a lot into my personal life and the events of my personal life that led me to have the sort of spiritual orientation that I have. But, I'm always growing and listening and thinking, learning. deeply inspired by a lot of the amazing people around me, of all, well, not all, but of different religions. So that it's just a fascinating topic. You know how they say, like, don't ever talk about politics and religion. I'm like, those are the two most important things to talk about. Why would you say that? It's a cowardly approach, I think, to life. Godspeed, really freaking cool concept for a character. Is a kind of a Orthodox Christian symbology uh, in a superhero. I mean, damn, great concept. Holy crap. So, whenever you're doing hard edges like this pole or what have you, always use a ruler. And there's all kinds of rulers. You see what I'm saying? Like, people think, oh, wow, how do you do that? Well, you got a lot of help. You have different kinds of tools for what you do. Um, Hold on. Oh, there it is. So all these characters are being colored now. This digital coloring. So I hire a guy to do that work for me. Um, Digital coloring is awesome, but it's also insanely time consuming. A lot of, like say Marvel Comics or what have you, they hire studios of people to do that stuff, and I'm probably gonna have to turn the music down because it's getting a little crazy. Right. I didn't want to start having to mosh, you know. Sometimes I just gotta do some mosh pit. Anybody ever get into punk shows and go to punk shows and do mosh pitting? It's been a long time actually since I've done that. But years ago, I was at a concert, and it was in a hockey rink, enormous hockey rink, and the entire floor of the hockey rink was a mosh pit. There were islands of people who kind of stood together in groups, who did not want to mosh and, were basically terrified because you can only imagine how freaking dangerous that was. Like that many people moshing. Insane. To be dead honest with you, I got really hurt. I got injured. My back got hurt pretty bad that night. But, when you're 20, you bounce back, you know what I'm saying? So, anyway, that was pretty cool. So, I'm more into the sort of like the smaller clubs with the local punk bands and just moshing with kind of like people it's a little more fun, I guess. Doesn't have to be people but when you're in the mosh pit, there's this sort of agreement like we're in the mosh pit. I consent to smashing into people and people smashing into me and stuff. And there's always that one guy who's a bit of a jerk and you know takes it maybe to the next level. But overall, it's still a lot of fun. So it's going to be a lot of fun to bring these characters alive in the story. That's going to be very cool. Mm. So Monday is my day off. I'm actually having a beer right now. I know you're jealous. I know. But anyway, so here we go. What's next? I actually have to get some more pens, believe it or not. I used to use Crow Quill and brush, which I prefer to use. I love to use those traditional tools, but it's just frankly more time consuming. I think I might have mentioned that on the show already. Um, so I sort of feel like I'm cheating when I use these markers, but in the end, you still get a really good result. So that's what matters. Let's figure this out here. So I'm trying to get this sort of snaky thingy here. This kind of reminds me of the if anyone saw the Conan movie with who's the black actor did the voice for Darth Vader. Can't remember his name right now, but he had this really cool kind of Caducean double-headed snake staff. I'm sure someone in the chat is saying the name of the actor right now. Okay, what do we got? There we go. See how that matches? Isn't that neat? It's kind of cool, right? So you just hook it up. There's definitely a lot of like steady hand stuff you gotta watch out for. You have to think through how you're doing this. So then there's a kind of an inner area here. Have to get. And try to match the shape. So that looks about right. Yeah, it's just a lot of little machinations to drawing that the common person doesn't really know about, actually. Let's get this off. So I'm thinking, just now it occurred to me, why not give these snakes a little texture, like a tiny bit of sort of like scales. There's another character, I don't, oh, here he is. Let's see if anybody can recognize this character. Who does that guy remind you of? So it's this dude that has a bit of like changes into a snake. And if you recognize the architecture in the back and the face, you might know who that's a play off of. But anyway, I'll put some texture on that snake as well. Take a quick look at the chat. What's going on, gang? How's everybody today? We got the mosh pit threw me on stage with Tool back in '94. Can't find the concert on YouTube. My only mosh experience. That's wild. Joshua Lindberg is here. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Lindberg, the mighty Josh. Great to have you here, brother. Been lurking in your D-Lives, by the way. Epstein Snake Man, yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, James Earl Jones, thanks. I knew somebody would get that. I saw that one. She spoke highly of E. Michael Jones. Who are we talking about? Hello. If we do nothing, good to have you here. Just want to welcome anybody new to the live stream here. Who do we got? We got Dan Cooper. Yeah, I turned the music down a touch. I feel like I didn't know if it was too loud. I felt like I was yelling over it. I thought he takes da da da. Brilliant, amazing, well spoken, boom, da da da. All right, well, I'll get back to work here. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. Feeling verklempt. All right, let's see what we got here. So this guy's got a very weird helmet. It almost has like an alien skull shape. I'll be honest, I got the idea from, there is a graphic novel that I got, I think in like maybe the 90s. And there's a Scottish writer who goes by the name Frank Quietly, which is a spoof on Quite Frankly. Anyway, that's a pseudonym. And so he wrote, what is it? It's the Justice League has a kind of an opposite team that there's like an evil Justice League, basically. And, like a Owl Man instead of Batman, and you get the general idea. And they come from like an alternative universe where Lex Luthor is good. I bet you Norm Apollo would know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the speedster character had a helmet like this in that shape. I've obviously altered it, but I was like, damn, that's so cool. It has almost sort of a, what's the word, aerodynamic look to it that I thought was kind of cool. So anyway, I just made my own version of it. There you go. So shut up. Sorry, I'm getting a little punk rock here. That's what Nirvana does to me. So there's this new kind of pants style out now where I see like, it seems like a lot of people who work out wear these type of pants. They have these like tight ankle pieces. It's the kind of thing you would see on the wrist of a sweater, but it's on your ankles. I think you guys must have seen it before. I personally think it looks weird. Like, I'm not a fan of it, but it's like a hot style, So like, I wanted to give this guy a little more of a contemporary kind of style of clothing, slightly punk rockish, slightly emo. I should be asking my son for fashion tips on this kind of stuff. Now, this guy's got side pockets, like on his pants, on his legs, and that reminds me of like cargo pants, right? So I guess there's this big debate, and like women especially, I find are really huffy about this. Like, cargo pants or no cargo pants? Are they cool, or are they like dad bod pants? Like, what's the score with cargo pants? Kind of a shallow question for American Zarathustra. Oh, I just lost like 20 followers because I asked that question. So, regarding this live stream, I do commissions. I've got two commissions coming down the pipeline. Gentleman in Eastern Europe is having me do a very epic kind of a battle scene painting. Um, and then I'm doing it's basically like a portrait of a couple that's going to be really nice, just a nice portrait of the couple. So, um, yeah, so if you guys are interested or you know anybody who's interested in commissioning a piece, feel free to contact me. Um, American Zarathustra at Proton Mail. I do use Venmo. Venmo is a safe uh, money transfer site instead of, say, PayPal. I've discovered PayPal is not friendly to people in our sphere, and if somebody wanted to dox me, PayPal would cut off my money. So it's not safe and not good to use companies that don't that censor us or abuse us. So it's kind of I feel like a habit we all need to get into where you have to just use and support companies that support free speech. I'm sure you get what I'm saying. So yeah. All right. So regarding commissions, I'm $50 an hour. Uh, we can work out whatever it is that you like or you need. I've been doing freelance art for 20 years. I know all the protocols. I'm happy to help people figure out what they want. Um, I'm actually backlogged right now with commissions, but I just always want to put it out there. That's what I do. Today we're getting a look at. Tell you what, I'll jump aside here and I'll show you another project that I'm doing. So I'm gonna look at the chat here real quick and see how does the camera look on that. Tighten that up. Say hello to anybody new who's popping in. Joshua, it's the Phrygian cap or nothing. Nice. No, I'm not following the conversation here. The monocle, always interested in like superheroes because you could just replace super with political. Fascinating. Very interesting. I think Norm and I should have like a stream where we just talk about superheroes, comic books, mythology. That would be, and Nullis or anybody else that would like to join us. That'd be pretty cool. But I think you gotta have you gotta be a fan of comics to start off with because I feel like that's an important area. Anyway, this piece here is, yes, I see that. Good stuff. We'll talk about that. So anyway, this piece here is part of a book I'm working on for Kai Moros, the illustrated speeches of Kai Moros. Let me show you something. Hold on. I just purchased this. I urge everybody to get a copy here. Silver Surfer. Yeah, I'm reading that. Yeah, Silver Surfer versus Mephisto is one of the absolute epics. Anyway, so here it is, Antelope Hill Publishing. Look up Antelope Hill Publishing. and you can get your copy of Collected Speeches of Kai Moros. It's funny because he and I had been talking about doing this illustrated book of his speeches, and this looks more like a book than speech here. But anyway, we'll. I just can't wait to sink my teeth into this. I'm excited. I'm a little hurt that nobody asked me to do the cover art. Kidding. Anyway, nice drawing though. But yeah, so anyway, this piece here is about the spirit of England. And it's very light, so it might be hard to see, but here you have this angel handing a sword with the Union Jack. Sorry, that's a shield with Union Jack and a sword to this Englishman here, and he's standing on a cliff. You've got a dying grandparent, grandparents. You've got a woman with two children here, and then this monstrosity of it's like a giant snake that is all made up of the heads of all these demons, like Sadiq Khan, and people who own the media, and uh, grooming gangs, and people who have been abusing and destroying England. And so it's you see this angel here is handing him this sword and the shield, and the odds that he's against are ginormous, right? In the background, you get this kind of view of kind of a castle, just a bit of a feeling for the landscape and such. So yeah, that's an interesting term there, Nullis. I like that. That's you could certainly base a poem off of that. But anyway, this, thank you, Josh. This is just like the underdrawing. Like I'm gonna go in and tone all this and give it like gray tones to really make it pop. I want it to look like kind of like an Albrecht Dürer or something that, this is like lots of fine rendering and really beautiful, strong tonal push and pull. So you figure she'll be the source of light coming out. You can vaguely see the shadows coming out behind him, but I'll pop that out much stronger. One of the early comics I'm reading your comments here. Story about Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange go to hell to save Doctor Doom's mom, illustrated by Mike Mignola. Yes, awesome. I wonder who wrote that. Anyway, this is another project that I'm doing. I don't just do comics. It's important for people to understand that. And on that topic, I did the cover of White People's Quarterly. It is out this month. whitepeoplepress.com, whitepeoplepress.com. I am also going to sign a copy and give it away on this show. Speaking into Norm and Nullis and their discussion on comics, they can be extremely dramatic, like very, very Shakespearean. So just another quick peek at the book here. It's featuring a lot of the visual artists in our sphere. Skinless Frank is one of the kings, the absolute kings of the art scene in the White Art Collective. You've got articles. Hey, who's that? Donald Kent. Got to have this magazine. You got to follow it. Of course, another king right there, Jason Kuna, and our buddy Jared George, Mr. George, if you will. Anyway, speaking of illustration, this is kind of the thinking I'm having here, right? See this style? This is actually kind of etching. If you look super close, you can see all the little thin lines. So this is the kind of illustration that I have in mind for this piece here. You see what I'm saying? So like, that's just the outline. Imagine all this beautiful tonal work with light and shadow. It'll be very, very dramatic. This is good. And tell me that doesn't have some kind of comic book illustration feeling to it, The characters, the line work, outlines, the body language. It's highly rendered, but it's also very dramatic. I don't know, I find it quite interesting. So, White People's Quarterly at whitepeoplepress.com. Get it now. Well, or after my show. All right, let's get back to work. Enough talk. Shut up, Don. Just yammering on like a damn fool. All right, let's move on here. It's an interesting thing. Simple thing like this, though, but the lines have to follow the shape of the leg. You know, the leg is a cylinder and it's curving, right? So you want to move these lines with the curve of the leg. And all these little things add up to create the illusion of form. And that's the art of drawing. That's the art of visual art, I guess, if you will. So, question for you guys. Are artists in their own class? Like we have the merchant class, you have the warrior class, you have the priestly class, perhaps you have the politician class. Um, what class are the artists in? Is it safe to say that perhaps that artists are in some way shamans? Uh, Obviously, you always have to define the terms when you're talking about stuff like this. But that is a discussion that I had with Kenneth Brown on American Zarathustra recently. Again, I really cannot overstate how much I want you guys to check out that video. Specifically, my friends in the White Art Collective, because it gives some fresh concepts on what artists can do. Kenneth and I disagree on some key points. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't like, as I described to him, agreement is not the objective, truth is, you see. So it's a natural kind of human tendency to want to strive to agree with people just for social comfort. You know what I mean? But that that's not really in the service of truth. So you're getting where I'm going, I guess, with that. So anyway, it's once again, it's something you guys can look into. I think it'll be inspiring in the very least. So. Now these masks, like the mask that this dude's wearing right here, is very kind of a typical style mask for I don't know, like skaters and that kind of culture, whatever. It's out there. It's got the teeth on it, you know. So the music has stopped. I'm thinking I will run over and toss in some more music. As you guys may know, my computer is in the shop. Oh man, it's been annoying to not have my laptop. It's just slowing me down tremendously on a lot of production work. But anyway, what do you say? Well, I'll go run real quick and toss some more tunes in here. Be right back. I'll let you enjoy the cover of the White People's Quarterly. All right, we went from punk rock to lounge jazz. And we got 9 people with us here. Let's say hi. I'm checking out the chat. What do we got? Let's look through here. Anybody new? Bruce, Bog Trotter. I don't know so much about artists, but I feel like they're the types within the classes. It's an interesting perspective. What do we got here? What do we got here? Just you see athletes or physical performers that are almost like artist warriors. That's an interesting concept. You are probably right. The mystic is an important aspect of art. Strongly agree with that. I think that, again, referring to the discussion I had with Ken, there's different kinds of art. You know, you have illustrative art, you have commercial art, you have, all kinds. But I think there is a hierarchy of art in my view, and arts that are sort of mystical are way up on that hierarchy, in my opinion. So I could make a pretty good case for it. I don't think it's a hard thing to understand or believe. But and then I would even maybe break that down into 2 different kinds of mystical art. So one being religious art, that's made for architecture and rituals and that kind of thing. And then what I would term maybe shamanic art or fine art, I don't know what quite to call it, but art in which it's some deeper inspiration emerging from within the artist, and that it didn't exist in the world prior to the artist creating it, and as such it's a new reality of some kind, and it should potentially in some regard have something unique about it that is meaningful, beautifies the world, deals with ideas that maybe other mediums can't deal with so well. Like visual art is nonverbal, and that in itself is a fascinating topic. I mean, music is not, obviously, I'm not talking about opera or that kind of thing, but music from the standpoint of just instruments, it's nonverbal. So the question is, what is the question? The question is, what makes art mystical? But there's all kinds of cool concepts coming out of this show for other shows. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, yeah, this piece right here I'm enjoying a lot because I feel like it's these 2 different generations, and this young kid, he's got a bit of a sloppy contemporary street style, whereas this guy has this sleek, I don't know, I mean, it's obviously it's imbued with some religious symbols and such, but it's quite an interesting connection. I would almost say this guy's meant to be like elderly, like 60, 65. Only, I mean, I wish I were that fit at 65, or will be that fit at 65. Looking like the Flash. I'm a big jazz fan. I've been for a long time. I should start off. My roommate in college was the DJ at the college radio station where I went to for my undergrad. And how cool was that? Getting my first year in the dorm straight out of high school, and my roommate, I walk in the dorm, and there's the whole wall is covered with crates of records, and it's just really cool. Thank God we got along so well. We're still friends even after so many years, which is sweet. And he turned me on to all kinds of music. He played guitar, I played bass. I played guitar, of course, as well, but we would do little jam sessions. He would pull out the harmonica and just have good times. But anyway, yeah, so he had a lot of jazz, and he would, at the time I was like, I want to learn how to like jazz. I'm just not exposed to it so much. What's this about? Whatever, whatever. And then there's actually a jazz appreciation course at my college at the time, and took that, and then I was just off on a skyrocket, like doing historic research on different things and music theory critique and all kinds of fun stuff. So I will admit I think that jazz is kind of music for musicians, but there are different kinds of jazz. It's not all wackadoo, crazy, out of tune stuff. But I like the classics, the standards, stuff that's kind of like this, I guess. Um, it's like more listenable, basically. I'm not saying I don't like jazz fusion, or certain kinds of maybe more intellectual jazz, if you want to call it that. Um, but this is just highly listenable. You know what I'm saying? Another thing in comics too is the contour line. So the contour line is literally the outside of the person. So like I'm doing the outside of his hair, for example. So one tends to go with more bold lines, heavier lines. They can be bouncy, but it just makes, I think, for a more exciting visual. It's comic booky, if you want to call it that. Once again, you gotta find the right size. Okay, here we go. So it's great having you guys here. It's very cool that you guys can kind of hang out and chat with each other. We got a little music in the background. Enjoy watching me draw. Stop to check the chat once in a while. Monday, Art Studio chill streams. Like, wow, man. So I play guitar, but most of what I do on guitar is write rhythms, and I write songs, write lyrics, sing them. I don't solo on guitar. But I'm learning. I'm teaching myself, to be honest with you. I watched a few YouTube videos to get the hang of a couple concepts, and now it's just experimentation, technique. But like when I listen to these guys, these jazz pros, it's ridiculous, Like the fluidity, the voice, the phrasing. Now granted, there's a lot of melodies and sort of tricks of the trade that they all kind of use. and people who aren't musicians wouldn't know these things. For a musician, it's not all that hard once you get the hang of those tropes, like musical tropes. But then to try to do something unique and have a voice of your own, you know, that's really where the art comes from. So, see, now I have to scan this and kind of see, okay, did I miss anything? Is anything wrong? Anything I need to add? Oh, like I just noticed he doesn't have an eyelid on his other eye. It's like super tiny detail, but I mean, one eyelid and one not, that's pretty weird, right? Right. So even though his eye is kind of obscured by his hair, but you get the idea. Want it to look good. So just a tad bit more work here, and then we'll do another one. Maybe I'll let you guys decide which one I do next. Like, for example, the Snake Man that I showed you before, or there's just a number of other characters that still have to be done. So regarding this comic book company, the site is up, but it's not finished. It still needs a lot of content. I'm about 75 pages deep already into the graphic novel. It's going to resume production this summer. And so what we're doing now is getting all the characters out there with all their descriptions. Okay, I'm going to check the chat real fast. Low battery. What is the story here? I can hear also, but pick is frozen. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, my phone is, hello, we're back. My phone was being stupid. We can hear but not see any motion. All this is right. Are we back? Can you guys see everything okay? I had, what do you call it? My, low battery notification. It's working. Okay. So I'm going to let you guys pick what to ink next. I'll show you the characters. Give me a second here, okay? Hold on. Gonna bring some up. So there's a lot of characters here that I've designed. We've got the Reptiloid. He's an evil dude. We have Karen. Oh, Karen. Can I see the manager, please? There's Karen, the cyborg complainer woman. We have Incel. Okay, I'm going to have to check the chat in order to know what you're saying. Yes, we're back. Easy fix. We've got the Pagan. This I like a lot, actually. I think this is a pretty neat little piece right here. This guy is called Hamza, and he's like an evil yoga teacher who womanizes. And he's like a mind controller to like get babes, because he's so spiritual, that kind of guy. Can you use Rachel instead of Karen? So what do we got here? This is the E-Thought, like E-Thought. E is a woman who comes out of a computer. I think you guys know what E-Thoughts are. The Manlets. They're kind of like, the Ant-Man of this universe, only there's a team of them. Amazing designs. Hey, thanks. I should tell you, the designs, the concepts come from the writer, and then we kind of go back and forth. It's like a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby type of relationship where he'll, like this chick here, she's actually a virtual girl. Synthwave is her name. And she has like an 80s style haircut and all this. And when it's colored, it'll have one of those filters over it. What was that Vaush and Andrew Jackson? Yeah, you're right. That's interesting that you noticed that. I'm very, very impressed that you picked up on that. This is Winston Churchill. I believe that's Vaush. I forget who this is based off of. Anyway, Hamza sounds like Russell Brand. Oh, good one. Although, as much as I don't like his voice, I do think he means well, but he does have that kind of, liberal commercial spiritualism kind of style. Anyway, Jekyll and Hyde, as in Sam Hyde. Anybody feeling that? This is a character I haven't completed illustrating, so that won't go until Deus Volt, as in not Volt, but Volt. So there's voltage around his electric voltage around his sword. It's obviously like a crusader superhero, Deus Volt, which I like. We got the Femoid. Now, anybody? I'm sure you guys have seen. Oh God, that red-haired feminist woman with the kind of pouty face and these square glasses. She's in a million memes about like telling people what they can and can't say and that kind of thing. So it's based off of that. She's got like a symbol of her ovaries on her shirt. So this comic book is going to be very intense. It's going to have a lot of stuff, but it's really meant to be a lark and like kind of makes fun of everybody in every political camp. It's not like sort of touting one particular ideology or something, but in a sense maybe making fun of the internet, I guess, in some regards. So here we have Crypto. This guy's called Crypto, and he's a sort of a shape-shifting gecko lizard man. This is all jam-packed. I love it. Cool. Maybe one day when we get like $100 million, we'll have Josh Lindbergh make the film. It'll move over Avengers. Zog, Godman. Can you make Alex Jones a Hulk-like character? You know what's weird is we don't have an Alex Jones character. Why don't we have an Alex Jones character? We should. I mean, anyway. So SJW. Okay, you can look at her shirt. She's got that power fist on it, whatever that is. The symbol that's associated with other groups. And she's blind, right? Like blind justice, social justice warrior. Okay. Let's see what else. The White Knight himself, Dove Man, with his tighty whities and his White Knight helmet, and he is going to save women from sexism. So watch out, sexists. She's too hot to be an SJW. Yeah, you kind of right there, but it's a comic book, and like hot babes and muscular men is the trope for comic books. It's fun to look at. I mean, I don't know. I'm hearing you, but I'm feeling like I like to look at that, so that's okay. What do we got here? The Crimson Dealer. This is basically a Chinese drug dealer, which is pretty crazy. I gave him one of these. Like in Chinese opera, they have these beautiful masks, and so when this is colorized, it'll look pretty cool. But Ink the Social Justice Woman next. Okay, Joshua has spoken, and there will be no argument about that. So let's do our lady friend here, and then we'll move on. So let's get to work. All right, gang. Is the music coming through okay? Is it too loud? Not loud enough? We need a character called the Gatekeeper. God, why didn't we think of that? We're gonna have to hire you for this company. The Gatekeeper. That's so obvious, of course, right? But I gotta have a quick drink first. Hold on. Nothing like beer on a Monday afternoon to make you feel like a man. Okay, let's see what we got here. So I kind of like to start off with like just sort of the small, thin line stuff, because it's harder to do, to be dead honest with you. To be a bit more careful with it. So, on the topic of like her being too hot or whatever, um, like I said, how do I put this? The intention is to kind of have fun with it. It's not so much like we're gonna slam social justice warriors. It's a spoof. I mean, you can get it, but everybody gets spoofed in this, to some extent. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Interesting times we live in, eh? He's got those sort of raggedy cut off jeans. Hmm. Yeah. So her swords are made out of this kind of mystical fire. It's interesting. Okay. Yes, the battery. So I need to make a Taliban character. The music is cool. Yeah, I'm enjoying the music. You should have a mustache. Hold on, I'm losing the chat here. You should also have a mustache-bound BAP-like character. Forgive me, what is BAP? B-A-P? I should know better, right? So the reason why my screen jams like that is because the little notification comes up, says my battery's low. Could get carried away. Bronze Age pervert, yes. Believe it or not, there is reference to Bronze Age pervert in this, but I haven't shown you that character. There should be some subtlety, you know what I mean? Maybe a bit of, what's the word? Plausible deniability. Like I said, it's all in good fun, you know. So that's kind of cool. It's too much. Let's see. Okay. Thanks again, guys, for joining me today. Took me a long time to learn how to draw for comics. It's, you know, I had a fine art degree and, you know, learned painting in Asia. And when I thought about drawing comics, I thought, oh, I can do that. Hey, that's nothing. And turns out it is something. This whole, it really is its own thing. It has its own standards and methods and all the rest of that. So I'll tell you a pretty. It's, I don't know. It's just a story. When I first was trying to get into comic book illustration many years ago, I went to the Big Apple Con in New York City, and I cooked up a portfolio. I actually met Mike Mignola at that con, creator of Hellboy. Norm and I have talked about that a little bit earlier. But anyway, I mean, that was one of my main things, is he's, at the time, he was kind of my hero, and I wanted to meet him, so that was awesome. He looked at my work and said, I can't give you any advice. This is great. I love it. And then he gave me like a free calendar, Hellboy calendar. Kind of neat. That made my day. I mean, obviously, I was pretty thrilled to have my hero say that to me. Again, I wouldn't say that he's my hero now or what have you, but I do adore his work. And he's, it seems like just a fantastic guy. But anyway, so I'm going around to the different tables and meeting the different artists, and it's weird, I was into comics as a kid, but years and years later, I thought, okay, I'm gonna try my hand at this and see if I can do this professionally. And so, I go to the con, and I'm meeting pros, and there's this kind of, I don't know what to call it. It's a thing that's known among artists that are going to these conventions, that every once in a while, an artist will be like a complete jerk to you and, say all kinds of really rude things about your work and all that stuff. Well, looks like my time had come for that. And I won't tell you who it was. I wouldn't say that he's like super famous. He's not as big as he would like to think he is or something. He's published. He's been working for Marvel and DC for some time. I'd say he's maybe my age, maybe a bit younger, but it's not so much his art, but the fact that he works with a good writer who is that the writer is famous. And that's why people buy his comics because they want the writer's work, right? So I'm cruising around, and I'm so happy to meet those guys because I collect their comics, I read their comics too, and I thought, hey, wow, this is neat. I'm meeting these sort of famous people, Um, I opened up my portfolio. At the time, I'd really had most of my experience in fine art. I just came back from Asia. I wasn't doing comic book style art, And this guy, the artist at this booth, he started basically like yelling at me and making a scene over my artwork and like, shredding me in front of all these people. And like crowds were gathering to come over and listen to this guy insult me and yell at me about the work that I'm doing. Now, I am not a little snowflake who just withers away or whatever. I looked at the scene and I'm thinking, well, for starters, a hole, like I don't need to prove myself to you. I'm a great artist at other genres of art, if you will, other styles of art. I didn't make any excuses. I didn't try to, engage. I just sort of like smiled and let him put on a show. You know what I'm saying? If anything, he really just proved to everybody what a jerk he was, honestly. So, and then of course people came up to me later like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And are you okay? What did you think? And, you know, there's a lot of young people that would be like, oh, that's it, I give up. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's not the kind of person I am. But yeah, there's things happen in the comic world. It's a world unto itself. I've had mostly good experiences with it, but that's one of those famous stories that happens to, people who are trying to get into the industry. And I wonder if it seems kind of obvious that, he's probably just compensating for his lack of ego or confidence, or he just likes to put people down for his own pleasure or something like that. But I don't know. It's to me that's pathetic. Maybe he feels competition. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe he thought I was good, and he wanted to stop me from pursuing this. Like we don't need more competition in the comics market. And to be honest with you, it's not a good it's not a good setup for artists. Working Marvel and DC is like being an indentured servant. You don't own the properties, you just work the land. You see what I'm saying? And then when the next hot new style comes out or the next big talent comes out, they drop you, kind of like a gold digging girlfriend. Just, oh, I found another man who has more money and bye. I don't love you anymore. That kind of crap. Editors, I'm sure there's good editors, whatever. I'm not going to, lump them all into one category, but I often think of them as artist wannabes or writer wannabes, and for whatever reason they can't cut it, so they take these positions of power where they can push around real writers and real artists. Their objective, yeah, you could say that they're looking for good stories. something fresh, whatever. But it's, I don't know, it's weird now that the movies have taken over. These companies don't care anymore. They're all corporate. Like believe me, the corporate fat cats don't give a shit about superheroes or any of that stuff. They just, you get the general idea. So, which in a interesting way has kind of made indie comics explode. Which is good for guys like me in some sense. So let me check the chat again real quick. We got Matt. Welcome, Matt. The Dangerous Fist. Well said. Iron Fist is one of my favorite characters, by the way. Let's see. Let's see. Of course, there's Snufkin, Master of the... Okay, I'm missing out on a really great, funny conversation here, huh? When I get my laptop, I'll be able to actually read the conversation. But for now, it's just, I'm doing this over my phone. I seem to remember that the instructions were to make her sexy, so I don't know. I'll be honest, I mean, I've seen good-looking SJWs, and you feel sad because you're like, like, damn, like you're ruining your life, like the whole feminism is cancer meme. So after you generally lay it out, you start to go in and try to do some rendering lines. So that's these kind of lines that I'm doing here. It tends to give a little form to the character, and the colorist does a lot of that with light and shadow, but I don't think you should just rely on the colorist to do that. For example, I really hate styles where the colorist does all the work. To me, it's like it basically points out that you stink as an artist if the colorist has to do all the shading and light work for you. Anyway, there you go, SJW. New Delphi Media is the name of the company. So these are all copyright New Delphi Media. All right. Shall we go from one SJW to another? The Femoid. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Femoid to tell you what you can and cannot say, what you can and cannot think. I'm just gonna get this crap off here first, though. Hope you guys are enjoying the musical selection. Yes, it is a Monday chill stream on American Zarathustra with Donald Kent making a mess in his studio like a big kid. All right, so once again, we have to eat our vegetables before we eat our dessert, and what that means is we got to do all the technical drawing, like she's a kind of a robot, right? So we're gonna do all these sort of robotic lines in her face and that kind of thing.